Hey, welcome to Cow-Free Kicks. On this channel I review leather-free sneakers only, and today's video is all about the ADIDAS NMD V3s. Thank you very much for watching and welcome to the channel. If you've not seen one of my videos before, I always look into 5 different categories when I review a pair of sneakers. Then at the end of the video, I will give these ADIDAS NMD version 3s an overall rating out of 5 stars. As we're going along, if you have got anything to say, please do comment below. And if you want to show some support, you can start by clicking the little thumbs up like button below on your device. And if you haven't already, take the time to subscribe to the channel. Now let's kick the review off by checking these ADIDAS NMD V3s out on feet. Now what you've got here is the NMD version 3. This is the 3rd iteration of the NMD or nomadic sneaker pack from Adidas. The version 1s and the version 2s, there wasn't really too much difference in the shape. But with these version 3s, you can see from this image here, I've superimposed the version 3s on top of a pair of version 1s. And you can see that extra clear area is where the version 3 has actually been risen in profile compared to the version 1s. So you get more room and more height in the toe box and the lacing area in general with this new version. The upper of the shoe is 50% recycled material as part of the removing ocean plastic waste in conjunction with Parlay. So 50% of this is recycled plastic that you get with this upper. It doesn't feel as soft as the older NMDs, but that's possibly to be expected with the high recycled content in the textile that's been used. You've got a lacing system here with lace loops. I think the lacing system on these is a little bit weak, to be honest, but I'll go on that more in the comfort section. Moving on to the midsole, it is an Ultra Boost midsole. I love Ultra Boost midsoles. Now, it does have the traditional NMD plastic plugs that you can see in the toe here and towards the heel in the red and the blue, but they're actually covered up in a kind of squidgy TPU cage that runs all the way across this outside of the foot, but it only runs just on the inside with this red plug here that continues on the heel of the shoe. Now you've got some more TPU added on the heel cup, which is exactly the same as the version 1s and version 2s with an additional heel pull. Overall, there's not too much difference on the top compared to the version 1 and the version 2s, but it's the additional high profile that they've created with this silhouette that I think is going to make a big difference in how they wear. And I want to try that out now when I'm going to put the comfort of this midsole and this shoe to the test on my back doorstep. If you've not tried on a pair of Ultra Boost, I would highly recommend it. You can see from the step test that you get incredibly responsive bounce back in every element of this midsole. Now I believe that the toe box profile on these has been raised slightly because not only have they changed the shape so it's less pointed and linear at the front and there's definitely more room in the toe box, I think they've added a little bit more boost to this NMD version 3 that you found in the previous versions, and there's a little bit more curl in the toe. So when you walk in these, it feels like more of a natural walk-in motion than you got with the old ones that I found were a little bit flat. Now, the midsole on this is very difficult to rival, so comfort underfoot is brilliant. You get cutaways in this traditional NMD waffle cutaway outsole, and you can see that the cutaways there mean that the Ultra Boost is exposed more to the ground. Now, the outsole on these is a little bit chunkier than you would have found previously on the NMDs, but it's incredibly flexible, so that does not impact the comfort whatsoever. An incredibly comfortable ride underfoot. When you move to the top of the sneaker, now fit-wise, I'm a true fit UK size 10 lengthwise, and I've got slightly wider than average feet, and these fit me surprisingly for a pair of Adidas absolutely perfectly. So they're an absolute true fit for me. One thing I will say though, that I didn't feel like they offered that much stability. Now with the NMDs, kind of famously for me, they don't offer that much stability because they're such a floppy shoe. I mean, there's not really anything other than the heel cup on these that offers any extra stability. Yes, you've got the plugins in the midsole to offer rigidity in the midsole, but when you move to the upper, the lacing system isn't that great, and they just feel like there's a lot of room in there to move around. And with my slightly wider than average feet, I found that quite surprising, but an incredible ride underfoot. Now I want to move on to their weight, where I want to put them on the scales. Coming in at 387 grams is a little bit disappointing. That's roughly 35 grams heavier than the NMD R1 V2s, and that's definitely because you've got this additional TPU clear plastic moulding that covers up the pegs on the side of the toe and the heel on both sides of the shoe. Now that additional weight isn't too concerning, but anything around the 400 gram mark and above is possibly considered a little bit heavyweight, and these are supposed to be a performance shoe, and I just think that's a little bit heavy. I like to see something around the 350 gram mark and below to be considered a lightweight shoe. So whilst they're in the middle, that weight is a little bit disappointing for me. Now I want to move on to their breathability, where I'm going to pump this recycled upper full of smoke to see how breathable it is. Not what I was expecting, and again a little bit disappointing as well as their weight, is the breathability of this 50% recycled prime knit upper. Now it is recycled, it's a little bit more abrasive than uppers that aren't recycled with such high recycled content. Some of the 20% recycled uppers are softer, and I do believe this is a lot tighter knit than these other uppers that don't have as much recycled content. Whilst I applaud the recycled amount of plastic that's used in the uppers, I do believe it's affected the breathability and the weight and the tight knit. And you can see there, the smoke just laboured out of it. It didn't escape in huge amounts. Yes, it did come out, but these definitely aren't as breathable as their predecessors. They're going to offer average breathability overall. Just be aware of that they're not going to be as breathable as the older versions. And I know a lot of people like to wear these, especially the triple whites, as a summer shoe because they are so lightweight. But again, they're a bit heavier and not as breathable. Now I want to move on to their price. Now these cost me £130. Now, like everything in the world at the moment, everything's going up in price, especially sneakers. I just think this price point is too much. Now I'm definitely going to have to review prices because all of them seem to be going up at the moment compared to previous versions. But I just think £130 is about a tenner too much for me. I prefer to see these at like 119 or something like that. Now I want to move on to their overall score, and because of everything I've seen and all the categories we've discussed, I'm going to give these a very solid but average 3 stars. I just don't think they've made enough of an attempt to make these look too different. Yes, they're going with the same makeup that have made the previous versions very successful, but I definitely think there's been a huge dip in interest in the NMD versions. I just don't think they've done enough in this to pique my interest again. And also, I don't think there's too much going for them other than the fact that they are incredibly comfortable. I just think they weigh a bit too much and they cost a bit too much. And breathability wise, they're definitely not as breathable as previous versions. Now, if you've liked what you've seen today, do not forget to give the video a little thumbs up like before you go. You can also follow me on Instagram, drop any comments, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.